Great to see you. Yeah, I know. It's been a minute since I've been on my YouTube grind here, but I had to take a little bit of a break there. Most of it was voluntary, holidays, family time, and quite honestly, things on the internet have been getting weird, been getting really weird. A lot of shills and trolls have been activated, and they're like crawling out from under their rocks to attack pretty much everybody, especially me. If you follow me on Twitter, you've seen a little bit of that. I'm not going to talk about it too much here because it would waste your time, and I don't want to eat up all this video just complaining about that. But I'll clear the air. I'll clear the air in future videos about that because some of these attacks are just getting absurd. And then we've got people out there apologizing for the people who are doing the attacking, like their perspectives are all skewed. So anyway, I'll talk about that more coming up. But as for this video, let's just discuss some of the latest happenings because there's been a lot of stuff going on. First of all, I want to tell you guys where I'm at. Yes. Well, if you saw the title of this video, I gave it away. I'm in Australia, man. I am in the land down under right now. Like reverse Crocodile Dundee. I'll show you a knife. Yeah, I'm in Australia right now, and I'm here for two events. One this weekend in Melbourne, one next weekend in Sydney. Then I head back home. I'm here with the Edge of Wonder crew, Ben and Rob, and also here with the EastEddie family, James Gilliland, Peter Maxwell Slattery, and John Vivanco as well. He's a really, really good remote viewer. I'm there with all of them doing these events, and then I'll head back. I've been traveling for like 24 hours straight. It's been nuts. I had to take 3 different flights to get here, and I'm beat right now, to be honest. But I knew I had to get this video in and get back to business here on YouTube. So just want to let you guys know about that. So if you are in Australia, want to come hang out at those events, or there's a live stream as well if you just want to watch. I'll throw a link down below after I'm done with this video here. And speaking of Australia, see a few people mentioning the fires, and don't worry. Where I'm at right now, really, the skies cleared up as well. It was a little bit hazy when flew in earlier, but right now it's pretty much blue sky and it's cleared up. So it's pretty fine right here. We'll see when I get to Sydney. I know it's a little hairier over there, but again, I'll be in the city. I'll be away from where many of the fires are. But I want to talk to people. I want to get out in the city of Melbourne and Sydney, and I'm going to see if I can talk to people and get their thoughts on these fires, because I'm sure you guys have seen the news in recent days, but what did it say? State authorities in Australia have arrested 183 people since November for 205 bushfire-related offenses. So that's absolutely nuts. In the mainstream media, they're trying to play it off as like dozens, and other mainstream media articles, I saw one by The Guardian today, they're trying to play this whole situation off as online disinformation. Blame it on the bots, of course, as the mainstream media tries to always do. Well, because this story is going so viral of all these arrests and the fact that many of these bushfires might not be climate change, like they're trying to pump it as, but be arsonists, those Guardian articles and all the mainstream media articles are trying to come out and, do their ass coverage, their mass coverage, ass coverage. And the Guardian's article, man, I'm just going to read you the headline here. It said, online troll bots spread disinformation about fires, exaggerating the role of arson being used to undermine the link between bushfires and climate change. Climate change. Get the heck out of here with that climate change bullshit. That's purely the reason why they're just pumping this so hard in the media and fear, because just climate change. And yeah, that's a topic that I'm going to have to get into, because that's something that a lot of people just goes right over their heads. It's really complex, but it's really simple at the same time. And basically, what really causes climate change? What's the biggest factor? The sun. What else is a massive factor? Well, yeah, we could say man-made climate change happens, but it's not carbon. It's those geoengineering programs and whatever the heck other technologies they're using to fiddle with the weather, right? And not just that, but here in Australia, one of the reasons why it's so freaking dry here is just because of the corporations and their unsustainable resource practices. All these giant corporations are coming in, they're buying up the water rights, they're drying up the reservoirs and the water tables and things like that, so it's just dry here, you know? I've been talking to people that have lived here in Australia since like the 80s, and they're like, yeah, back in the 80s, early 90s, it was so much greener here. Once the corporations come in and buy up the water rights and just screw everything up, boom, makes it drier. And then you add that on top of the geoengineering, you know, when they're spraying that stuff in the skies, makes everything more flammable when that dust falls, and just et cetera, you know. We can look back to what's gone on in Brazil last year, just in recent months, and then of course in America here, or here, in Australia now, in America, in recent years, you know, the summers there, the wildfires have just been bad. And in each instance, people are scratching their heads and they're like, what's really causing this? Of course, in California, people were questioning if it was the deep state because we had like trees burning from the inside and plastic melting, cars melting, stuff like that. People were wondering if there were directed energy weapons being used. Don't know. Then in Brazil, we had the allegations that the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, were being paid to start many of those fires in Brazil. Wouldn't doubt it if it was clockwork here in Australia. And let's ask the question, why? Why would that be done? What would be the motive that the deep state would have to purposely light fires like that? Well, again, we can look back to America, and when California was lit on fire, what was that reason? Well, California was desperate for money, right? Federal funding. Wow, if there's a giant wildfire in the state or in the country, they can claim state of emergency and try to get federal funding out of it. So that was at least the reason in California. There's always these speculations as to these fires being set as a very cheap way to clear land. I believe in Australia, there's this talk of like a huge rail project. So, and then of course in California, there's rail projects there too. So there's one thing. And what's another motive? You know, anytime you're trying to ascertain what the motives might be for the deep state to do something, it's always layered. There's always multiple reasons. What's the other one? Also, the globalists trying to basically leverage strong arm the farmers out of their small farms. They can come in and buy their burnt up farms for pennies on the dollar, and boom, there you go. More corporations buying up rights of land grab, there you go, things like that. So, yeah, we'll see. I'll I'll go around, maybe do some people on the street interviews or something like that, and ask the Aussies what they really think. So that's that in regards to the fires. Not too bad, don't worry, and I'll see what's going on with them. Let's talk Iran, okay? Because that's just crazy. That's been crazy in the news for the last week, especially tonight with the events of apparently Iran sending some rockets towards an Iraqi airbase, and then also a very suspicious, mysterious earthquake happening there, and also a very suspicious and mysterious plane crash happening in Iran all tonight, okay? So we'll get into talking that plane crash and the earthquake and those missile firings, but I just want to back up and talk about the general Iran situation. Because of course I haven't done a YouTube video in a week and a half, so let's talk about it. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about Trump greasing an Iranian. He was basically their proxy war general. This is what a lot of people out there are either too ignorant to get because they're in a state of just like emotional reaction to all this and they can't chill out and critically think, or they're just shilling for their corporate handlers. People are so triggered over this Iranian situation. They're not realizing that this dude that got greased, he was Iran's proxy war general. He had all these connections to different militias that did all sorts of nasty shit in the Middle East. You know, these militias that could have been connected to the Benghazi incident, other terrorist attacks. Some were saying that Soleimani also led a massive persecution against a bunch of Iranian protesters and just all sorts of stuff, you know? And one of those militia leaders that Soleimani is connected to there in Iran as well, I saw a Breitbart article the other day about how he was invited I don't know if he was invited, but he went to the Obama White House in 2011. Huh, what a coincidence. You know, in fact, I wouldn't doubt if Soleimani, that Iranian general, was like connected to the CIA in deep ways and was like the CIA's point guy there in Iran, that they would try to do a lot of their proxy war stuff. Because, I mean, what he was doing in Iran is the exact same thing that CIA does over here. So, no, I don't feel bad about that. Do you? Why? Huh. Just like Trump said, you know, they took him out to avert more war. And I could see that definitely being the case. Essentially, what's going on, and a lot of people aren't realizing this, is that everything is a different game being played here in 2020 now. You know, for the last 3 years, this presidency is completely different than all the rest. Let's talk about that in terms of war. Let's use war, for instance, okay? People thinking, oh, the deep state, you know, they just want war perpetually, blah, blah, blah. Well, not anymore, because the deep state doesn't control the presidency. What Trump has to do is clean up the messes from the previous presidencies. This wouldn't have had to happen if Soleimani or al-Baghdadi or any of those guys didn't get power in the first place. But they did, with help from the West. So now, since Uncle Trump's in charge, what has to happen? You gotta clean up that mess. So sometimes we gotta get our hands a little dirty to do that, unfortunately. Wish that didn't have to happen, but that's the reality of it. Thank you, Sama. Thank you so much for streaming on your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, thank you. So, in Iran, no, I don't feel bad about that happening. A lot of people need to get what's really going on there. And then today we had all those missiles fired off at the Iranian base. Now, a lot of people could be saying Iran's trying to beat the war drums, things like that. You know, seeing this situation play out, though, and seeing some different takes on the internet about it, there's been some really intriguing perspectives. Now, one thing about tonight that I've seen is that there is a shitload of misinformation, disinformation, clickbait stuff just everywhere. I didn't even want to tweet about this thing for hours because there was just so many conflicting reports. I think MSNBC even reported that 30 soldiers died in these attacks, which was horribly fake and just absolutely, God, they need to just stop reporting. NBC, they need to cancel everything they do. Because how disrespectful is that to hundreds, if not thousands, of American families that have troops overseas? You're going to make a lot of parents nervous there, right? When no casualties happen. So, you need to remember that. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Boop. Let me get my handy-dandy iPad in front of me. So all those missiles were fired off. No casualties. Remember Q recently mentioned back channel and was getting us to think of why back channels were so important? Well, I saw a take from, who was it? Imam of Peace. If you guys are on Twitter, you probably follow him. He's got, a good Twitter account. He said that what is being repeated by a lot of Middle East journalists today, I quote here from a tweet of his, Tehran told Washington, D.C. through proxies that it will bomb U.S. bases in Iraq to save face and claim it is a response for killing Soleimani. That's why the USA emptied its bases hours before the attacks. 0 casualties. Huh. What if we're seeing a show? This is just speculation. You know, we haven't really let the, 24, 48-hour rule play out to really see a clear picture, let the dust settle, before we get that clear picture. But there's speculation here. What if we are seeing a show? What if there was a deal made by President Trump, Q Team, White Hats in America, with some sort of power in Iran to, let's back this up, maybe they agreed to take Soleimani out. Maybe somebody there in Iran thought that Soleimani was getting too unstable, or they didn't want deep state control in their country anymore either. They wanted their own blackmail chains cut. So maybe they did make a deal through some back channel with President Trump and said, okay, we'll let you take Soleimani out and we'll do a little bit of war posturing with each other, but we'll let you get your guys out before we fire these rockets and into the base and whatnot. I don't know, but it's very interesting to think about. And of course, thinking of the ideas like enjoy the show, Patriots are in control, things like this, like I have no fear, guys. I have zero fear when these sorts of really tense situations blow up, like when Donald Trump sent the Tomahawks into Syria or the war posturing with North Korea or all that. Just remember, think back to those instances. What happened after Syria when Donald Trump sent those Tomahawks in? Did war break out? Nope. What about North Korea when people thought, it's going to be World War III, nuclear war with North Korea? What happened? CIA's blackmail chains were cut. No war. Iran, next on the list. It looks like it's happening right now. So, who knows? Maybe it is a show we're seeing. Maybe some of this was agreed to behind the scenes for this all to happen. And after this, I could see, one of the statements that was so weird to me today, looking through my Twitter here, Iran says it has concluded its response to the killing of its general, indicating that it is hoping the U.S. will not respond to the recent attack. This is a tweet from DEFCON Warning System, their official blue check-marked account, DEFCON. So Iran says it concluded its response and hopes the U.S. won't respond. So it's, kind of the same thing that we saw with North Korea, right? Where there was war posturing, and then basically Trump came out on top as a show of strength, and then Kim Jong-un seemed more than happy, to come to the table or something like that. What if we see Iran come to the table for some sort of discussions within the next, I don't want to say a few days, but maybe a few weeks? Very interesting. And then what's also interesting is, remember, through Q's drops, they said saving Israel for last. Israel in this situation is like, we don't want none of it. We don't want none of it. This is America's thing. Benjamin Netanyahu's like, because Israel probably helped set up a lot of those proxy armies, maybe with Iran and the CIA and Mossad's connections there in the Middle East. So Israel's probably biting their nails, like, oh shit, we might be next. Who knows? Things to think about. Don't get worried. Don't be in a state of fear, because again, that'll just shut down your critical thinking centers of your brain. You won't be able to see things clearly. So I'm not worried about what's going on in Iran. Although, let's talk about that. First, let's talk about the earthquake. Then we'll get to that airliner crash. So that earthquake. Hold up. Super chat. Another one. Iran was won before it was fought. Sun Tzu. Yeah, Art of War. Very important to read right there. I got that on my Kindle. Another theory. Israel's last and surrounded by U.S. troops. Very intriguing thought right there as well. If the whole Middle East is undergoing a cleanup right now, well, Iran and the U.S. could be posturing, so the U.S. could just get some forces around there to keep the thing secure while the rest of the swamp draining happens in the Middle East, right? Ideas, just ideas. Okay, let's get to that earthquake. So a 5.0 earthquake hit near an Iranian nuclear facility tonight, of all nights, of all times, during, at least around the events of that rocket barrage. So, let's get our thinking caps on, people. We got a very suspicious place, number one. I saw some news reports saying, it seemed natural, seemed nothing to do with it, but yeah, natural. Let's just look at the place of where it was. That's a very big coincidence. And the timing of it, also a big coincidence. And then we can look at patterns in the past. Always look at patterns. What happened with that North Korea situation? Didn't an earthquake happen there and collapse one of their underground facilities? And then it was after that, they went, we're ready to talk. Well, maybe Trump and the White Hats and some of their Black Project tech, who knows, maybe like a scalar weapon, directed energy weapon, you could call it. Maybe they use one of that to collapse that underground, but took out a deep state site, cut those strings a little more. North Korea was able to negotiate. Maybe they're doing that in Iran. Maybe this 5.0 earthquake was some sort of tech that was used to take out a deep state black site. Help free Iran a little more, right? Just thoughts, just ideas. Hey, a couple more things, and we'll talk about that Ukrainian plane crash in Iran. Funny enough, one of the first people I met today when I got to Australia here was an Iranian. He was an Iranian Australian, I guess you could say. And he grew up in Iran. He still has some family in Iran, but he came to Australia here, quite a few years ago. But basically escaped what was going on in Iran. And he literally told me, he's like, I support what Trump did. Totally support it. He didn't like Soleimani's family in Iran, literally there, doesn't like Soleimani. They knew what was really going on with that. And then you can look at all of the testimonies that the mainstream media won't touch that are going viral on Twitter and on the internet of Iranians just literally giving their testimonies, video clips, tweets, whatever it is, sharing them around, and they're supporting him. You know, you see graffiti in the Middle East, in Iran, graffiti in Arabic saying "Thank you, Trump," and then signs that they print out and post and stuff like that. So, just literally, like, take a moment to research for yourself. How easy is it to do that? Don't let somebody else do the thinking for you and just insert those narratives into your head, and you just become a regurgitator. There's no thinking in that. There's literally no soul in that, because you're just like a robot. You're a sheep. Just do your own research. Get on, create a social media account, and do some scrolling. It's that easy. There are a lot of Iranians supporting Soleimani. Good point there, comment. I have a counterpoint to that comment. There's also the speculation going around that these massive protests we're seeing, or not protests, but massive gatherings we're seeing in Iran to show support for Soleimani could be artificially inflated. I think I saw some tweets from Mr. Imam as well. He was saying that there's literally shop owners and people in Iran that are being forced to show support in the streets for Soleimani. If they don't do it, they get their shops closed, things like that. I don't know how real that is, but I wouldn't doubt it. Would you doubt it? Not at all. Paid protests, you know, there's definitely camera tricks, production tricks they can do to make the crowd size look a lot bigger. And then how despicable is it that our American media, the way they've been framing this, mainstream media and all those just fools in the alternative media, trying to apologize for this guy, call him a beloved war general, and, you know, just all these like nice words about him. And then they're talking about the shows of support and trying to make it seem like nobody in the world didn't like this guy. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Okay, let's move on to talking that Ukrainian airliner crash. So another weird thing happening there in Iran this evening is the fact that a Ukrainian jet went down. They're claiming due to technical failure. And it went down this evening there, killing, maybe it was early morning, killing 180 people. The numbers sort of varying that I'm seeing, but about that many. And a lot of mysterious things about this as well. There were some airline services before that happened, around the time the rockets were going off, that said that there's no routes they're running, no plane routes they're running into Iran. I think it was Malaysian Airlines I saw tweet that. But not, why was that jet up then? What airline? I don't remember what airliner was, I don't have that in front of me, but odd, too odd. And not just that, but I saw some really intriguing anomalies about this particular flight. So it was Ukrainian International Airlines, And on their website, they had the flight, which was PS752. That was the number of the flight, which there's that 52. There's been a lot of signaling with that 52 lately. You know, Trump mentioning 52, 6 B-52s getting stationed to Diego Garcia, 52 F-35s that were a part of an Air Force training exercise the other day. Just a lot of 52s going around. Wonder why. Anyway, this Ukrainian flight, PS752, was slated to leave at 5:15 a.m. as per the website for Ukrainian International Airlines. And there was no indication of an issue with the flight leaving at 5:15. And then not too long later, it had an expected arrival. So it left Ukraine, arrived in Iran at 8, with the caveat that there are unplanned schedule changes. So then the website saying now there's unplanned schedule changes. That was before the plane went down. So the whole thing is just weird. Whole thing is weird. They're saying, first they said it was a technical difficulty. Then they said it was a accidental missile from the barrage that Iran sent, which that just totally sounds weird as well. Just lock onto a plane, like, I don't know. And then you see the video as well. In the video, you can clearly see it's like fireball going out of the air. So I don't know. Maybe that was like a rogue person within Iran there, rogue military official that went for that jet. Who was on that jet as well? Very revealing question if we could find that out. Who was on that flight? Important people, maybe? Very intriguing that it was Ukraine as well, seeing how that's been in the news lately too. So there's weird stuff going on with Iran, but again, no fear. Nothing to worry about there, in my opinion. I believe some very competent, capable people are in control of that situation. And what else, man? What else you guys want to chat about for a few more minutes here? Ricky Gervais just dropping some bombs on Hollywood. How amazing was that? I rewatched that like 5 times. Swear to God, I couldn't stop watching it. It was incredible. He dropped the pedo word, made fun of the popes being pedos, talked about Jeffrey Epstein not being killed, goes, don't get mad at me, he was your friend. And he even dropped the line about Epstein's plane really quickly after that. He was like, hey, at least you all took your own flights to get here, right? Like, oh, that's crazy what he did, and just laying it out on Apple for the sweatshops, and Amazon, and Disney, and, you know, don't make a political speech, just take your award and F off. Like, it was incredible. And again, let's get into that speculation mode. Like, how the heck did this happen? You have to ask that, right? It was like too perfect, especially with the camera cuts to Tom Hanks and then the producers and all that at like the perfect times. Had to have been coordinated. Had to have been. So let's run with that idea a little bit. Here's an interesting fact. 3 weeks ago, the NBC Universal CEO resigned. Resigned. We know what resigned means, probably forced out or took a deal to escape the scene or whatever the case, but he resigned. So that was 3 weeks ago. I believe news broke of that around the 15th or 16th of December. Ricky Gervais, the earliest I could find of the announcement of him being the host for the Golden Globes was the 22nd. It was about the 22nd. Might have been earlier, but I couldn't find anything earlier than that. I think I looked on Twitter and then did a quick Google search. Couldn't find anything earlier than that. So it looks like Gervais was actually put into place to host the Golden Globes after the NBC Universal CEO, the company that produces the Golden Globes, their CEO resigned. Now, I think you can pick up what I'm putting down here. It just looks to me like there was some sort of leverage behind the scenes to make that happen. And then with those camera cuts and all that too, it was like, I don't know, it's exactly what I wanted for Hollywood, and I didn't even realize it. It was too perfect, right? Too perfect. Something had to have happened to make that happen. But anyway, that was great. I think the whole world was talking about that afterwards. And then funny he brings up Epstein too, because, geez, aren't there still some unsealings in regards to that case that could be coming out? And then where the heck's Ghislaine Maxwell? Where the heck is she? I saw some reports stating that she was holed up over in the Middle East, maybe in Israel. Then I saw some news reports that she was holed up in the Midwest somewhere. Don't know. Somebody did throw me an idea today. I was like, I don't know, but I don't know. And that theory was that they said, it's reported that Ghislaine Maxwell could be holed up in the Midwest. We got all these drones combing the Midwest right now, don't we? And nobody knows what the heck these drones are really doing. And, the about 17 6-foot drones, they've been searching in patterns from like 7 to 10 p.m. for weeks now. Odd. What if they're searching for her? Some military intel black op that, they can't tell the FAA or the FBI or local law enforcement or anything. So they're just doing it quietly. I don't know. I don't know about that. But regardless, I do wonder what's going on with those drones. Because that story is still going around. And now more agencies are hopping onto that, trying to figure out what the heck is going on with it. Local law enforcement, FAA, FBI, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll see. Hey, so a lot of people jumping into this chat here saying, I'm up late. It's 4 a.m. Eastern live right now. Hey, for me, it's like 8 p.m. I'm in Australia, for those of you guys who missed it. So, heck, for me, it's like, I think 1 a.m., my normal Pacific Standard Time. But my video timing might be a little bit weird for the next couple of weeks. But it'll be good because I can upload videos while all y'all are sleeping. You can wake up and get a nice little something to watch in the morning. All right, what else do we have to talk about, man? Q. Let's talk about a couple of things in regards to Q. And actually, in regards to some very interesting articles coming out of the mainstream media in regards to aliens in Antarctica. We'll finish up with those two things, and then I'll head out. So, actually, there's a couple more things. Looking at my list here. So, Q. Ice-T posting that meme. That was pretty nuts. That was nuts. And then his reaction to posting that meme when people were trying to give him shit for it and get him to take it down. When he told that journalist to eat a dick, that's exactly how I wanted my 2019 to end. And then Ricky Gervais lighting up Hollywood at the beginning of 2020. Like, what's going on with these celebrities lately? I don't know. Ice-T ended up deleting that QAnon meme that he apparently didn't realize he tweeted. He deleted that. But that was definitely interesting. There's also a story going around the media today. Actually, it's been going around for quite a few days. They're really trying to get what they can out of this one, wring it dry. It's the supposed QAnon follower. Her name's Cynthia, and she's being accused of planning to kidnap her daughter. Now, media stories are just lighting this up like wildfire, because apparently there's a police report filed, and this woman was arrested. And in the police report, they interviewed this woman's older daughter, and the daughter told the police that her mom seemed off kilter, not right. So the police decided to get a search warrant, search her home, and they found some stuff relating to Q. They found those blue Storm is Upon Us wristbands. I don't know if you've seen those. I don't have one with me. They're at home. But one of those blue bands. This whole story just reeks. It just reeks. Maybe the police really did interview the daughter, get the search warrant, search her place, find those Q-related things, and maybe this woman really is nuts. But what's to say there isn't some sort of influences going on behind the scenes to set this all up and make it happen? And then get this police report, get this arrest story into the mainstream media to then, of course, attack Q and attack Q followers. I mean, that's just been their modus operandi for the last few years. I don't have enough fingers to count how many situations they've tried to use as these sort of psyops. We had the Hoover Dam armored truck driver during the memo debacle. What was that, 2018? You know, when he drove his armored truck onto the Hoover Dam there. There was that guy. There was the brother slasher in Seattle, the kid who apparently hallucinated, thought his brother was a reptile lizard something, and slashed him with a sword. They tried to connect him with QAnon, even though when you actually went through his Facebook and his YouTube videos, there was hardly anything on QAnon at all. But they try to find any, oh, the person posted one meme 3 years ago. Great, he's connected to Q. Now we can run all these articles. You see how they do it? There was him. There was, remember that mail bomber at the end of 2018 in October? A little over a year ago. Remember that mail bomber? And when they finally caught the mail bomber and they found his van, do you remember what his van was plastered with? His van was plastered with 8chan boards. It was screen caps of 8chan. There was even a little UFO that they slapped on the van. I don't know who made that van up, if it was actually the mail bomber or the CIA. But, they were attempting to paint him as being a crazy 8channer. And of course, we had the shootings, the Christchurch shooting and the Texas shooting, where the shooters posted a manifesto to 8chan. It wasn't the shooter. It wasn't the shooter that wrote those or posted them. But it was the freaking rogue whoever people. And they were trying to, of course, paint Q as violent, make it look like people who are into Q shoot up Walmarts and shoot up churches and mosques. And now what they're doing is try to make it seem like people who are associated with Q will conduct raids to kidnap children. And there's QAnon snipers out there. That's literally what some of these news reports mentioned. A QAnon raid. I quote, QAnon raid. They called it QAnon raids and QAnon snipers. How violent is that? And how absurd is that too? What the hell is a QAnon raid? What's a QAnon sniper? It's nothing. They're just making stuff up. Some word salad to paint their narratives. It's absolutely absurd. So needed to touch on that for a sec. And then a quick note on Justin Bieber. Really quick note. I don't want to talk too much about him. Just go to his Instagram. Look at all the pictures he's been posting on his Instagram. Look at the hashtags and the words he's been posting under all those pictures on his Instagram lately. And then look at the lyrics to his song. The name of his song, it's called Yummy, that he's been posting under his photographs. Yeah, have fun with that. Bieber's a friggin' sicko, if you ask me. And then last thing is the CNN and the New York Times and the mainstream media, just all across the board, going balls to the wall the past day with alien stories. I kid you not. So the CNN, they put out a story yesterday on this British astronaut, this British woman astronaut. And she said basically that her opinion is ETs exist, aliens exist. Well, CNN decided to run an article on that, and that was basically the headline of their article. They said, hey, aliens are here, get over it, or something like that. But they basically used it as an excuse to, okay, the first paragraph, we'll talk about this British astronaut believing in UFOs, but then the rest of the article was just a whole PR piece for all that Tom DeLonge bullshit. Oh, here's that video that Tom DeLonge's organization put out 2 years ago, and ex-government official confirmed these things, and of course it's somebody connected to Tom DeLonge's BS. So that's what we're going to start seeing, folks. So it's going to, as the whole impeachment thing fails, as the deep state continues to get their ass kicked, that means they're going to start throwing a lot of just weird stuff at us. And it's going to be limited hangout, partial truth type information. And the point of it is to basically distract us, divert our attention away, and so they can brush their deeper crimes. They can hide the more important stuff This is how the corrupt intelligence community has worked for decades, decades and decades. You know, when people start to figure a few things out and they wanna really conceal something, they'll offer up a little bit of stuff. Like I was talking to John Vivanco today, and he was talking about how they conducted limited hangouts with remote viewing. You know, that they basically, the intelligence complex, they didn't want people figuring out the deeper programs, you know, deeper stuff they were doing with remote viewing and these sorts of not just experiments, but actual field operations with remote viewing, that the CIA disclosed a few remote viewing documents in recent decades. You know, they've disclosed a few, but that's so they can keep the rest more secret, right? And they don't just do that with remote viewing, but everything. That's why, you know, define limited hangout. I say that word often because when you understand what a limited hangout is and how they conduct it, it helps you see their propaganda and their psychological operations a lot easier. So in terms of the UFO ET issue and a limited hangout, what they're trying to do now is disclose basically nothing. Like, oh, here's a friggin' microbe on Mars. Oh, here's another freaking radio pulse from a galaxy far, far away. You know, there's just another one the mainstream media reported on today, I think, a new radio pulse from a distant galaxy. Oh, here's a UFO video, right? But, oh my gosh, we have the internet at our fingertips. We can go look up all sorts of UFO videos, right? Many of them would probably be CGI, but there's a lot of real ones out there. So they're just going to throw a lot of twisted, contorted truth our way to try to distract us and divert us. CNN with that article about aliens being real. The New York Times ran an article on Antarctica yesterday, and the headline was really, really weird. It was discussing scientists testing robots under the ice in Antarctica, but they used the word alien like twice in their tweet about it and in the headlines, saying that these scientists were exploring Antarctica to test or prepare themselves to research icy alien moons or something like that. Then they talked about under the ice in Antarctica even being more alien than on the surface. So just the wordage that the New York Times was using, the actual story itself was really no biggie, just some scientists playing around with a robot. But the signaling there definitely caught my eye. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that in coming weeks. So on that end, I hope that, you know, President Trump and Q team and all the white hats in the intel world and the government, I hope they start trying to get ahead of that ball and disclose some stuff. Like, just take your TR-3B squadron and fly it over Iran. I'm sure they got some scalar beams on those things that could take down a ballistic missile like that. That'd be a neat way to disclose everything, right? But realistically, yeah, be neat. I really hope they start pressing that issue a little bit more so. And we'll see when Q starts posting again. You know, when stuff's getting heated, they usually don't post. But I think maybe within, what's today? Wednesday for me, maybe Tuesday for some of you. Probably by the weekend. Hopefully they'll begin posting again and give us some direction, because there's just so much stuff happening. I mean, the shills are getting just completely freaking, they're coming out of the woodworks, man. And I'll do a video on that tomorrow. I'll tell you guys all about how they've been trying to attack me and just the nonsense they spread about me. I mean, it's nothing, it doesn't bother me, don't worry. But sometimes you just have to put those claims to rest just to get it over with and then move on. So I might do that tomorrow. But nevertheless, I'm in Australia. There's going to be a lot of videos I have for you guys coming over the next couple of weeks, vlogs, and I'll get to doing these news vids and things like that. So back to the YouTube grind, and I think that was like my longest not YouTube spell that I've done since I started YouTube. Speaking of which, it's been almost 3 years now since I uploaded my first video. 3 years, man. So that's crazy. I'll do a live stream from somewhere on the 16th. That was the first day in 2017 I uploaded a video to this channel. January 16th. So maybe I'll do a live stream somewhere to celebrate with you guys. But anyway, take care. A lot more videos coming. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care.